Hello everybody, this is Anders. So a few updates from the last time we spoke. The most immediately obvious one is this button here. It actually is a button. It'll take input when you click it with the mouse, as you can probably tell from my furious clicking. It'll also work if I hit it with my finger on the screen. I have a touchscreen. Pretty cool. And I made a little goal graphic over here, so we have something else than a tiny star man here flying past. I've been trying my hand at some pixel art, and it's been pretty fun. It's pretty easy to get going with it. Now all I need is talent, but I'm sure I can practice that a little bit. Let's have a look at what's going on behind the scenes. So in the boot scene, where everything is loaded, we just load the new graphics. This is the choose button, and then down here we have the sprite sheet of the goal. It's actually pretty easy once you made a sprite sheet. You just define the width and height of all the individual images in the sprite sheet, and Face will figure the rest out for you. If you don't know how a sprite sheet works, it's basically one large image consisting of several smaller images inside it, and then you just define how big those individual images are. So now that we have the graphics loaded, we can instantiate the game object classes. So this is new. I refactored the code so that it would be individual classes instead of everything just being in the create function. And then we have the update functions where the individual updates for these classes are called whenever the game updates. One thing that isn't in the play scene here, but is instead in the boot scene, is the animations. So we have the goal animation here, and you don't put the graphics the animations in the classes that you instantiate, because you only need to make or create the graphics once. You don't need to do it for every class you make. So say I have 10 goals on the screen, I don't need to make or create 10 animations. I'll just make the first one or the single one, and then I'll call that from the classes. If we have a look at the classes, there's not much new in the player class. It's basically just what was in the create function of the scene the last time we spoke. It's a class. It exported. It extends the game object.sprite superclass. We pass in the scene and the x and y coordinates. We call the super. That's the constructor function of the class that we extend. Set the texture. Set the position. Set the frame in the sprite sheet, set the depth of the set index, and then we add it to the scene. If we then have a look at the boss, there's a bit more going on here. This is the same as before, just setting the textures and the positions. And then there is an update function. And this update function is what's being called from play scene here. And basically what that does is move the boss across the screen, and when he goes too far outside the scene to the left, it'll reset him to the right. A bit more interesting is the choice or choose class. If we have a look here, here, when it's created, you can see we pass in this is the scene, and then we pass in the boss, that we made here, this new class, as a new boss. And the reason we do this is it's called actor when we enter the class here. The reason it's passed in is so that we can set the position relative to the actor, the boss in this case. So we set the texture, and then when we set the position, you can see the position is now the X position of the actor plus 10 pixels, and then the Y position of the actor minus 15 pixels. So it's slightly to the right and above. And then there we set the frame and set the depth and so forth. This part here, set interactive, is what makes it possible for me to register my mouse clicks or my finger presses. And once it's interactive, then we just tell it that on the pointer up event, just console log the event. It's nothing fancy. And then we add it to the scene. And when we update, when we call the update function here, we just update the position. So that's what it looks like. I'm probably going to play around a bit more with some of the pixel art and try to make something that looks a bit nicer, just because it's a lot of fun. And then I'm probably going to next have the action when you click on the button here actually do something, and maybe add some score, or maybe I'll figure out what to do with it. I hope this was informative, and I'll see you around next time.